Excel 2007 database tools. Well, chances are you're going to have tons and tons of data in your Excel spreadsheet. A lot of people use this as a database, and now in 2007 you can have 1,000,000 rows and 16,000 columns, so your data could get way out of hand. Of course, your memory and your processor has to be able to accommodate that much data. But our goal here is to make sure you feel comfortable with being able to sort this information so you can see really what you're after. Now in Excel 2007, you can sort by up to 64 different fields. It used to be 3 until Excel 2007. We have a couple different ways that you can filter your information. In other words, query based on criteria. If you have a number of records that have the same information, you can use the remove duplicates command, which will really help to clean up your database. And if you have a column that has a number of pieces of information all chunked together and you want to break them out into separate columns, the text to columns tool is what you'll want to use. There's also a few different data functions or data formulas that can really pinpoint with accuracy the information that you're after. I have put together a little database on our sales team performance. I've broken it out by salesperson, territory, and then the 4 quarters worth of sales. We're going to be working with sales numbers and our salespeople. Before we do that, though, I want to give you a few tips regarding collecting information in Excel. The first thing is you should always break your fields apart by the way you'd want to sort them. I've done something wrong here. I put salespeople together in one column. I should really break that apart so I could sort by last name if I wanted to. Right now I can't sort by last name. I can only sort by the first character that appears in these cells, and generally speaking, when you're looking at people, you want to sort by last name, not by first name. Also, I did this correct. You don't want any blank columns or blank cells, because while you're working with your data filtering and sorting, you want Excel to know what your range of cells is. And if you have a blank row or column, it's going to think, oh, well, it's a smaller range, and it won't incorporate all the data from your database into that one large range from which you will be sorting or filtering. So let's start with sorting, and then we're going to break this column apart into first name and last name. It's as simple as using the Data tab on your ribbon here. A to Z will sort it in ascending order. Notice it's sorting it by first name, not last name. Z to A, something that's been around in Excel for the last few versions is it does figure out the range that you're sorting by. It used to be if you had a cell selected, it would think, oh, I'm only supposed to sort this column, and therefore it would mess up all the other data. So if I were to sort just by this column in the old days, it would think, oh, well, I'm sorting west. I'll keep the same salesperson name and all this data the same, and that would really put a problem into your database because no longer were you looking at real data. I will tell you, though, you can click anywhere in a cell and it's realizing I want to sort by this field. These are referred to as fields, and it keeps the entire record together. Just to be sure, we've got John Wordcheck here at $1,200. If I sort by descending order, I don't have John Wordcheck here anymore. I've got Dan Mercury, and look at that. He had a pretty big quarter there in Q1, $51,000. He sold the most. Wow, about $20,000 more than everybody else. Just to show you how you can mess up your sort order, I'm going to select columns A and B, and I'm going to choose to sort them by ascending order. Look what it did. It messed it up. Now I've got Amy at the $51,355 quarter. That's incorrect. I'm going to click the undo button and bring it back to the accurate data. So gleaning from that, when you are sorting, make sure you only have one cell selected. It could be anywhere in that column, and always save your data before you start doing these sorts because you could mess information up. Now, you may have noticed that these field headers haven't moved. Excel is smart enough to realize that this top row are my field headers and not to include them in the sort. I don't want salesperson to be sorted in there in the S's. I want to keep it at the top. Well, so far we've been using these buttons. You could always right-click as well. If I wanted to sort by Q2, I could right-click, choose Sort, and choose Sort Smallest to Largest. Now I'm sorting by Q2. I could right-click on territory and choose Sort A to Z. Now I'm sorting by territory. But let's get even more advanced by clicking this Sort button. I mentioned that now you could have up to 64 sorts in here. Up until Excel 2007, you could only sort by 3 different criteria. We are going to sort by territory, and then we'll add a level here. Then we'll sort by salesperson. And we'll do these both in ascending order. We're sorting on values. At this point, we don't want to sort by color, but that's a pretty cool functionality. I'll choose OK. Now we have sorted first by territory and then by salesperson. That's nice, right? Except, as I mentioned before, I did a bad job by putting all of these salespeople together. The first thing that I want to do in order to break up first names from last names is select a destination for those last names. I'd like it to be in between now what is A and B. So I'll right-click on column B and choose Insert. Because I right-clicked on an entire column, Excel was smart enough to pick up the idea that I want to insert an entire column. So here it is right here. The next step is to select the range of cells that I wish to break apart. Now I'm going to grab that tool. It's on the data area of the ribbon, and it's called Text to Columns. This allows me to separate the contents of one Excel cell into a separate column. When I click on it, Excel says, you know what? I think your data is delimited. A delimiter is a character that indicates where that separation should occur, and that's true. It's delimited by a space. And this data shows me accurately the selected data. I'll choose Next. My delimiting character is a space, but notice if you did have a tab, a semicolon, a comma, or something else, you could choose that within this. This is showing me how it's going to break apart the data. That looks fine to me. I'll choose Next. Now it's saying, where is your destination? My destination is going to be, where is the very first name going to go, or the first area of the text going to go? Well, I want it to stay in column A. I'll click this button to go back into the dialog box, and I'll choose Finish. Look at that. It worked. I've got now Ann Wilson, Jack O'Reilly, Larry Wall, etc. I'm going to double click on this to resize the column, auto fit it, and I'm just going to call this now first name, and I'm realizing that I don't have the word salesperson in there, but that's okay because I've got the title of my file called Sales Team, and I could also put in a header. If I were to print this, I could do, salesperson by territory, something like that. I am going to click Save since I spent some time on that and I don't want to go back to the way my spreadsheet looked formerly. Now we're ready to get back in there and do some extra sorting. I want to sort by territory, then I want to sort by last name. Now I'm going to add a level. I'd also like to sort by Q2. I've got my order in ascending order for territory and last name, but let's do largest to smallest by Q2. Now when I choose OK, I see my last names here are in ascending order. I have 2 by Wilson. My primary sort was East. I had a number of Easts, so it was able to break apart and sort these by last name. I have 2 Wilsons, so let's see if it worked by Q2. It did. So I've got my first Wilson, it's descending order, so that's why the 63,000 is the largest number in Q2, and then it goes down to 22,000. The reason why 8,000 was at the top, even though it's not the highest number, is because it was my third sort, my tertiary sort control. All right, let's go ahead and go back into sort here. Notice I've got Q3 with 2 values, so let's go back into sort. Instead of Q2, let's sort by Q3, and so we get this information at the top. We'll do sort by territory, ascending, last name descending, Q3 largest to smallest. Okay, it worked. I've still got East, my 2 Wilsons, and my 2 Q3s. So it really hasn't broken these apart at all. I mean, Ann comes first, but she's come first the whole time anyway, so that really didn't break apart our sort. Now, this is what's new to 2007. I can even add another level. Notice if I have this selected and I choose Add Level, it's going to put a secondary sort in there. I want to delete that level. I want a fourth criteria that comes after these three items. Now, I can go ahead and choose by Q2. Let's see, would largest to smallest work? I'm going to move this out of the way. And still has the larger Q2, so let's do it in smallest to largest. Choose OK, and now it worked. East, Wilson, Q3 is the same, but finally we have a differentiator, and Nancy comes first now in that sort order. I'm going to go back to sort here, and I'm going to just delete all these. Oh, by the way, because I had a check mark in my data has headers, that's why this wasn't included in the sort. And notice Excel's picking up automatically that my range are all the connected rows. All right, looking good. Okay, we've got no sort order going on. You might recall, though, that we have the ability of sorting by colors, either the cell color, the font color, or if you had an icon within that cell on the top. That means as the ascending, if you were ascending order, that would be the top value. Sometimes when you're in a spreadsheet, you do mark certain cells. I'm going to go back to the Home tab and give this a color. You do mark certain cells with color because you want to call it out. Sometimes it's red because it's negative. In the case of numbers, you might have that as your format when you have a negative number to show it as red. And so you might want to put all those items that you've marked together in a nice sort order. So I'll choose sort. It's kind of cut off, but it's put selected cell color on top. Now I have all of these items together. It's not based on the data that's in that value. It's based on what that cell color looks like. Again, because you may have some system within your spreadsheet that you call out certain values based on certain information. I'm going to go ahead and put these back to no fill, and you could always do that again with font color or cell icon. I can also right-click and go to custom sort here. I'm back to that very same dialog box that we were just in. But notice if I do sort on cell color here, I could choose no cell color, I could choose a cell color. Same thing goes with this. If I had icons in there, it would actually show me which icons that I wanted to sort by. We have options as a tab or as a button as well. Maybe it's case sensitive because for some reason in my database, sometimes I capitalize some values and sometimes I don't capitalize values. Or maybe I'm trying to clean up data and I really messed up one time and did some crazy capital letters. I could sort by case sensitivity and then I could update that information. I'll go ahead and choose cancel. The entire time that we've been sorting, we've still had all the records available to us. But what if you wanted just to see specific information? Maybe I only wanted to see the East Territory. I could go to Filter, and now look at that. This used to be referred to as Auto Filter in older versions of Excel, and it was in the Data menu. Well, now it's just the Filter button on the Data ribbon. So Territory, and it's hard for you to see this, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to make this window a little bit smaller. When I click on Territory, notice I can choose just to see the East Territory. Okay? Look at that. These blue row headers indicate that there are some hidden items. That we had the East Territory. It was in row 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm only now looking at my East Territory. I could also filter it even more. I just want to see all the Wilsons that are in the East Territory. Now I'm down to 2 records, row 5 and row 6. And I can tell here that I have a filter. If I click on this button again, I can choose Select All. Now I'm back to these. And then I could go back to this and choose Select All. Or I could choose Clear Filter from Territory. Or I could just click this button. I'm back to seeing